in the morning. I can't sleep. My jaw's busted. They wired it up a couple hours ago and it hurts every time I move my mouth. I lost tonight. I gave everything and I still lost. Feels like I let everyone down. I'm not unbreakable.
But it causes repeated trauma to the brain. And over years and years of this happening, people can get what's called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE syndrome. And it's almost like a disease because with repeated trauma to the brain, and that can lead to memory problems, mood swings, even trouble with movements, and eventually people can develop dementia like Alzheimer's disease. And Jake Paul got knocked out by Anthony Joshua this past Friday night. And so I want to break this down from a medical perspective. I'm a neurosurgeon with over 25 years of experience. And so, you know, what happens is when you get hit in the head with that kind of force, like in boxing, our brain actually moves inside our skull and it can bump into the skull, which is a firm structure, and cause bruising of the brain.
Jake
Paul gets his jaw broken. Not only that, but he gets his lower jaw broken from the right and the left side. So both sides. And not only this, following that, he went through an emergency surgery procedure to get that sorted out, and titanium plates were inserted to help stabilize the case. This will take long to fully heal.
Drinking every night and doing all this and beat you.
Yeah, it was bad.
If you look at the fight, he was much slower. He only threw a hook. Like,
so here's the thing about Jake Paul's boxing journey. It just hit a brick wall at about 100 miles per hour. We're talking about a complete destruction that left his jaw in pieces, teeth scattered, and Gervonta Davis practically celebrating from the sideline. But the knockout from Anthony Joshua, that's just the beginning of this story. The real damage goes way deeper than anyone realized in the moment. When Jake went down for that fourth and final time, something shifted in the boxing world. This wasn't your typical influencer getting humbled. This was a complete systematic breakdown of everything Jake thought he knew about fighting. And what happened next tells you everything about how brutal this sport can really be.
he was going like tie him down and catch him with a good shot and shit like that.
So wait, do you think, curious, because it's a business aspect, but again, I'm still a nigga, and
The aftermath photos hit social media like a bomb. Jake's posting x-rays showing a jaw fractured in 2 separate places. We're looking at missing teeth, titanium plates, and somehow through all of that pain, he's still calling out Canelo. The audacity is almost impressive, if it wasn't so completely delusional. That single post basically broke the internet for all the wrong reasons.
A couple of times, pushed down on the back of his neck, pushed down on the back of his head, got him to the ground. There was a few times where Jake looked like he was going for a takedown. Again, that was Jake trying to engage in the clinch, and AJ smartly moved back. In one instance, I think it was the 5th round, Jake engaged for a clinch, AJ moved back and started punching down.
The reaction was swift and merciless. Boxing fans tearing him apart, real fighters just shaking their heads, and industry insiders finally saying out loud what everyone already knew. Anthony Joshua hits like a freight train, and Jake Paul just discovered what that actually means. The medical team treating him confirmed this wasn't normal boxing damage.
To Anthony Joshua, sleeping Jake and breaking his jaw in 2 different places, along with breaking his teeth. Gervonta joined the fun with the rest of the boxing community by throwing a meme on Jake Paul. That was his reaction, as you guys see above.
What the cameras didn't show was way worse than what made it to Instagram. Jake spent the entire night in emergency surgery. The surgical team was dealing with fractures they typically see in major car accidents, not boxing matches. When doctors are comparing your injuries to highway crashes, you know you stepped into something you weren't ready for.
Jake Paul was knocked out in round 6 and suffered 2 fractures to his left jaw. Here's the moment that did it.
Chin served on a platter for that right hand right there. And look at Jake Paul
Paul's face.
There's no way I can share the actual injury here. It's a bit too gruesome as the camera was put inside Jake's mouth and his teeth were actually not in a straight line. They were separated from the others as the jaw deviated. The question is though, what kind of recovery process Jake would be
They kept Jake on that operating table for 4 straight hours, surgeons drilling titanium plates directly into his skull just to hold everything together. The final right hand from Joshua had completely destroyed both sides of his jaw simultaneously. That's the kind of power that makes you understand why everyone tried to warn Jake before he stepped in there.
Down on Jake's back. So all of those things kind of deteriorated or emptied Jake's gas tank a lot earlier than I think he expected it to. But overall, I thought he deployed his game plan well for the first 5 rounds and actually had some success. He even moved AJ back a few times, 1 by just jabbing in the air, and 2, when he caught him, he moved AJ.
Now here's where this gets really ugly. While some people felt bad for Jake, Gervonta Davis was having the time of his life. Tank's reaction has the entire boxing community split right down the middle, and honestly, it's getting nasty out there.
Yeah, he just represents everything that's wrong with boxing, unprofessionalism, and you know he's getting what you know, he's reaping what he sows. But I hate working with people like that. He stands everyone up, film crews, everything, doesn't do any promotion.
People close to Davis say he wasn't just satisfied by those hospital photos. He was genuinely entertained, watching the knockout on repeat, laughing about it, and basically saying Jake was never cut out for real boxing anyway. Before you think Tank's being too harsh, you need to understand the history between these two.
Jake Paul was knocked out in round 6 and suffered 2 fractures to his left jaw. Here's the moment that did it.
Chin served on a platter for that right hand right there. And look at Jake Paul's face.
There's no way I can share the actual injury here. It's a bit too gruesome as the camera was put inside Jake's mouth and his teeth were actually not in a straight line. They were separated from the others as the jaw deviated. The question is though, what kind of recovery process?
This whole mess started way before Joshua ever threw a punch. Jake had been going after Tank for months, calling him out publicly, questioning his character, talking trash about his professionalism. They were supposed to fight in Miami, and when that fell apart, things got personal real quick.
AJ came right back in and swung, but he did move him back.
When this fight was first announced, you said to several media members that like initially you weren't down for this fight. You thought it was just a little bit too much too soon, to paraphrase. Did he do better? Did Jake do better than you thought? Result aside, obviously you wanted him to win. You thought, I think by the end that he was going to win, but did he actually do better than you thought initially?
When Tank's legal problems killed that fight, Jake didn't just move on quietly. He went scorched earth on social media, calling Tank garbage unprofessional, and basically dragging his name through the mud. Tank's been carrying that grudge ever since, just waiting for the right moment to feel vindicated.
And doesn't do any posts, but it is what it is. I'm actually glad this all happened this way so that he doesn't get, you know, the biggest paycheck of his life and just continues to be a piece of shit.
The Ring 4, November 22nd. Watch only on DAZN.
So when Joshua delivered exactly what everyone said would happen, Tank didn't see it as a tragedy. He saw it as proof that he was right all along. The memes started flying, private conversations got leaked, and the boxing internet exploded into this massive debate about whether Tank's reaction was cruel or justified. Half the fans think Tank crossed a major line by mocking someone with a broken jaw and missing teeth. The other half think Jake spent years building his brand on disrespect and finally got what was coming to him. Nobody's changing their mind on this one, especially when you look at how long Jake's going to be out.
Yeah, there's a lot of punching down, practicing, hitting below my knees, and a lot of speed.
He warming up.
We're
now.
sparring.
That's what we need.
We're sparring.
Warm up.
Some
I know
8-year-olds. I got the 8-year-olds in there.
If I find out anything, I'm gonna beat your ass and I'm gonna beat Jaden Love ass. On my mom, I'm gonna beat both of y'all ass. on my mama. And he laughing. He know.
Doctors are saying bilateral jaw fractures like this don't mess around. We're looking at 6 to 8 months minimum before Jake can even think about contact again. Could be a full year before he's actually ready to fight. Plus dental reconstruction, implants, bone grafts, the whole nightmare. His career just hit a massive pause button. What's really telling is how Jake sounds different now. For the first time ever, he's talking about fighting smaller opponents, admitting heavyweight was a mistake, saying he needs to step back and recalculate. Those are the words of someone who just got a reality check they'll never forget.
Right, listen, respect to Jake. You know, he was a tough guy in there. Obviously, he moved a lot and made it difficult for AJ. And AJ's been out of the ring for a while. He's a bit rusty. It took him time to just get hold of him, but I was impressed with Jake. And listen, as I said to Nikisa, at the end of the day, he took shots that a lot of people would have got knocked clean out by, especially at the end, you know? So, yeah.
Was it frustrating for you to watch?
No, I mean, maybe, like, obviously, when someone's moving like that.
Even Anthony Joshua showed real class afterward, saying Jake was tougher than people expected and took shots that would have dropped legitimate heavyweights. Somehow that respect makes the whole situation even more brutal, because courage doesn't change the fact that Jake was completely outmatched.
Respect to Jake Paul, that we took a few rounds to get going because Jake was moving a lot and holding a lot, and you know, it was difficult to nail him clean, I think. But eventually AJ took his time, cut him off and smashed him about. And listen, respect to Jake Paul, because that last shot, I know he broke his, shattered his jaw, but it would have knocked most heavyweights out, so I've got to give him credit.
The question everyone's asking now is whether this ends Jake's experiment with elite boxing, or just makes him hungrier for revenge once he heals up. The answer might be forming already, and it's not what you'd expect.
We'll argue that he at least won 3. No one expected him to last that long. Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's toughness. You know, most people wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men on the planet. Who's 40 pounds heavier than him, is 6 inches taller. That's insane. He's one of the most skilled fighters on the planet, my brother.
And when they're rugby tackling you, but he had to do what he had to do to survive. And he did that. So, you know, it's very difficult to go in like, you know, out the ring for 14 months and just be razor sharp with a guy running. And so, yeah, probably 2 or 3 rounds more than expected. But fair play to Jake Paul. He was a lot tougher than I thought, and he took a lot more shots than I thought he could.
What did AJ tell you inside the ring about the fighter?
Wicked fight. Respect to Jake Paul for taking the fight. Took a heavy shot. But you know what? What a fantastic fight he put on. But big well done to AJ. We knew from day one AJ was going to do it. But the better fighter was going to win.
People said that Jake Paul was running. Do you feel like he ran, or do you like...
I mean, against someone like AJ, AJ's a big guy, strong guy, and he can hurt you. So yeah, 100%, like, he's going to want to avoid his power, but you know what? He got caught in the corner and bang you out.
Tank Davis is still champion, still trending, still watching his name get attached to Jake's downfall, and that canceled fight feels bigger now than it ever did before. If Jake comes back, that shadow's gonna be waiting for him.
Or Jake would have moved around the ring at 100 miles an hour. There's 2 things I would have done. Tried to shut Jake down at 100 miles an hour, or I would have gone on the back foot. So Jake decided to move around the ring, and I decided to put the pressure on. What I could have done better is a lot of things. 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that...
We'll argue that he at least won 3. No one expected him to last that long. Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's toughness. You know, most people wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men on the planet. Who's 40 pounds heavier than him, is 6 inches taller. That's insane. He's one of the most skilled fighters on the planet.
Right now, the memes keep spreading, the arguments keep getting heated, and there's this one image that perfectly captures everything. Jake smiling confidently before the fight, then lying broken on the canvas afterward. That before and after tells you the entire story without saying a word.
Graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron, is fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And
This goes way beyond just another loss. It's a warning shot to every influencer who thinks confidence can replace actual skill and preparation. While Jake recovers in private and Tank celebrates in public, boxing just did what it always does. It reminded everyone that reality hits back, and it hits hard.